look, it was a very disturbing and concerning this morning when staff arrived at the office just behind me to open up the doors. There was red paint everywhere, but an inverted red triangle on our back door, which is a Hamas terrorist symbol, a kill symbol actually. And worse than that, they had drilled a hole in the door and poured some substances, materials in there. First responders came onto the scene, hazmat, the fire engines and the police as well. They've been testing, going in there to make sure, to test the toxicity or the biohazard that's in there. We don't know. It's still an active crime scene, as you can see behind us. And so it's been very, very upsetting and disturbing for staff. And I will say, these are staff who come into the office every day, who help people serve the community, who help people on NDIS, who help people on cost of living issues, who help people with visa matters. We help a lot of refugees and asylum seekers. They should not be unsafe at work. They should not be put in a dangerous position, nor should the neighbours who are, it's a residential, people who live next door, all the small businesses put in these dangerous positions and have this type of actions taken, and it's very concerning and deeply disturbing, this escalation.
You've described, and we can see what's happened on the outside and broadly what's happened on the inside. I heard, in addition, internally there is a stench to the office. Now, I guess you don't know whether that is toxic material, but what's your first impression having got a whiff of that?
Well, the smell was unbearable. You couldn't, even from the outside, it was very difficult. So people went in, the hazmat team went in with their suits and their oxygen masks to take the test the material. There's a lab here that they're going through the initial tests to ensure, to find out what it is. So it's an active crime scene in that respect. But as I said, that is just unacceptable. This is not protest, Greg. I mean, I have said consistently that Australian citizens have a fundamental democratic right to protest. And I protect that, and I have defended that. But when people resort to expressing their political views or their ideological views through violence or threats or physical intimidation or harassment, that's not protest. That is unacceptable under the law, and it's morally repugnant as well. No one should have to go to their place of work and face this kind of actions. The people that live here shouldn't face this at all. It's completely unacceptable morally and legally, and it needs to be called out.
All right, you say unacceptable legally. In your recently vacated role as chair of the Parliamentary Joint Committee on Intelligence and Security, you, more than anyone perhaps in the Parliament, are familiar with the ingredients of what would make a politically motivated attack or violent conduct. Does this meet that threshold, at face value anyway, to you?
Well, this is clearly a illegal actions have been taken here, and that's why the police are investigating it. And that's why there's a live, active crime scene just behind me as we speak. That there's no doubt about that whatsoever. And I think the point that I was making was that I will defend Australians' right to protest, to disagree, to have differences. And that protest, the vast majority of protests, whether it be on any issue, has been peaceful protest. But it is unacceptable, both legally and morally, to actually escalate that to forms of violence, to threats, to vandalism, to attacking people based on their identity or their background, whether it's their ethnic or their faith-based background. People can disagree, they can have differences about all sorts of issues, and they can protest and express themselves as long as it is peaceful and it's respectful. This is so important. Australians do not want to see this kind of activity on our streets. Okay? People accept and give a fair go to everyone.
Yeah, let's talk about motivation then. You're saying clearly illegal conduct. But is there, do you suspect or allege, a political motivation to this, to be explicit, as part of a campaign to unseat you in Wills at the next election?
Well, I can't speculate on any of that, Greg. What I do know is that there is graffiti that's put up on the walls. There's red paint everywhere on the front of the office and the back. There's the more disturbing kill symbols that we've seen, the Hamas symbols, and also the more disturbing use of materials or substances that have been drilled through using a propellant to go into the back of our office there, which is all very, very dangerous and unsafe for people working there, but also the people nearby, the small businesses and the residents. Sure. So, again, if it is a form of political expression, using that kind of expression using violent threats or threatening behaviour or actions that put people in harm's way is not to be tolerated, and the law doesn't tolerate it, and we don't tolerate it as a society.
I know your instinct, Peter, is to be stoic under these circumstances, but the task of social cohesion, I also know, is something that you pursued long before the Prime Minister gave you the official responsibility as a special envoy in this area. So what effect is this having on you? I hear you making the calls for civil discourse, but they're being comprehensively rejected here, aren't they? What toll does that take?
Well, I wouldn't agree with that 100% because the vast majority of Australians that I speak to, the community leaders, the faith leaders, the multicultural leaders, the people, business leaders, people in the sporting world, all really value the harmonious, multi-faith, multi-ethnic society that we've built up here over generations. My parents migrated here. Millions of Australians have come to this country from different parts of the world and they've made it work. They've accepted the fair go. They've given others a fair go. We are a people who have always had a tradition, an egalitarian tradition, to give people a go in our society. Yes, there are obstacles, there's prejudices, there are forms of racism and discrimination, but as a society we've overcome those through changes in the law, but also changes in attitude. What I'm seeing, and which is concerning to me, is a very small group of people who think that expressing themselves through these violent means, through these kind of actions that put others in danger is somehow legitimate. It's not. The clear message here, this is not a legitimate form of expression. You have every right. Every Australian has every right to speak freely and openly about any particular issue within the bounds of the law, and as long as they do so peacefully and respectfully. And I'm somewhat exasperated by those who think that it's okay to do this. It puts people in danger, it puts my staff in danger, staff who work round the clock to help people and give them a better life, help people with their issues, serve the community. And it's also shutting down our office and not allowing us to process the work around visas, for example, that people need, or the refugees and asylum seekers we were going to meet today. This is what this is doing. It is putting a stop on democratic practice, and it needs to be called out through the law, but also I think the people that I speak to are certainly have had enough of it.
I'm hearing your exasperation loud and clear, and your condemnation to Peter Khalil. What about the functioning of your office? Is it feasible or possible for it to continue in its current location if its physical security can't be assured? And I don't want to be critical in asking this question of police, but why isn't your premises under constant surveillance given the history?
No, we do have. There are cameras out the back and out the front. That's certainly the case, and we've had very good support from Vic Police and the AFP with respect to some of these incidents. Again, we just clean it up and we get on with our job. We open up and we serve the community. That's what we do. We don't make a big song and dance about it. We don't complain about it. We don't really say much about it. But when it escalates to sort of putting materials in the office that put people in danger, it needs to be called out. That's why I'm talking to you today. I'll directly say to those people out there, you have every right under our democratic system to express yourself freely on any issue, whatever the disagreement, whatever the difference, as long as you do so peacefully and respectfully, and you don't put people in harm's way, you don't threaten others, you don't express yourself through violent means or through intimidation or harassment or attacking people based on their identity. That is not our values as a democracy, and all of us, I think, have a responsibility to uphold those values that make Australia the place it is, because it's really important. The work that we've done to build up this society is so important, and we need to protect it and enhance it, and that is the essence of social cohesion.